Burnout warning signs you can't afford to ignore. Burnout has become an invisible epidemic in the modern corporate world, quietly affecting employees and organizations alike. The constant pressure to meet deadlines, exceed expectations, and juggle increasing responsibilities often leads to a prolonged state of stress that gradually turns into burnout. This video aims to delve deep into the warning signs, the science behind burnout, its impact, and solutions we can adopt to prevent it. By the end of this video, you'll not only recognize the subtle but serious symptoms of burnout, but also learn how to take proactive steps to foster well-being for yourself and your team. Let's begin. Burnout isn't just about feeling exhausted after a long day. It's a chronic workplace issue officially recognized by the World Health Organization, WHO, as a syndrome resulting from unchecked workplace stress. Simply put, it occurs when you've been stressed for too long without relief, leading to physical, emotional, and mental exhaustion. Unlike temporary stress, like a tough project or a heavy week, burnout doesn't dissipate with time or rest. It lingers and intensifies, affecting not just your ability to work, but your entire outlook on life. Psychologist Herbert Freudenberger, who first identified burnout in the 1970s, categorized it as a state where passion and ambition give way to fatigue and disillusionment. Why should you care? Because burnout is more common than you think. Research reveals that nearly 77% of professionals have experienced symptoms of burnout in their current job. This statistic highlights the importance of understanding the condition and acting on it. Burnout doesn't hit all at once. Think of it as a process, not a single event. It often begins with ambition and overcommitment, as many of us try to excel at what we do. Over time, mounting workloads, unrealistic goals, or poor work-life balance push us into a state of chronic stress. At first, burnout feels manageable. You might think, I'm just temporarily overwhelmed. I'll bounce back after this deadline. But as the weeks turn into months, coping mechanisms fail, and stress becomes embedded into your routine. If the root causes aren't addressed, burnout becomes inevitable. A dangerous thing about burnout is that its early signs are easy to miss or dismiss. Let's move into identifying these signs to help you or your colleagues detect burnout before it spirals further. 1. Chronic exhaustion. Feeling physically and emotionally drained all the time is one of the key indicators. This isn't the usual tiredness after a busy day. It's a constant fatigue that doesn't improve even after rest or a vacation. 2. Declining focus and productivity. Tasks that you used to handle effortlessly now feel like monumental challenges. You may struggle to concentrate, frequently miss deadlines, or make avoidable mistakes. 3. Heightened irritability. Burnout often takes an emotional toll. You may find yourself getting angry, frustrated, or annoyed over seemingly minor issues. This irritability could extend to colleagues, family, or even yourself. 4. Sense of detachment. Ever felt like you're operating on autopilot? Burnout causes many professionals to mentally check out from their responsibilities. You might feel indifferent toward work or disconnected from projects that once excited you. 5. Growing cynicism. Negative thoughts about your work environment, colleagues, or even your industry as a whole are common. Comments like, "I can't stand this place anymore," or "nothing I do makes a difference," reflect the emotional toll of burnout. 6. Physical symptoms. Burnout manifests in the body too. Recurring headaches, difficulty sleeping, stomach issues, and even a weakened immune system are common. If left unaddressed, these can develop into more serious health conditions. Recognizing these signs early is crucial, but understanding why they happen is equally important. Let's now explore the scientific roots of burnout. When stress becomes chronic, it affects the body and mind on multiple levels. Scientifically speaking, here's what happens. Brain function. Chronic stress triggers the release of cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone. Elevated levels of cortisol over long periods disrupt the brain's normal functioning, especially in areas responsible for memory, focus, and emotional regulation. This makes it harder to think clearly and increases feelings of anxiety or hopelessness. Hormonal imbalance. Burnout affects more than just mental health. The endocrine system, which regulates your stress hormones, becomes overtaxed, leading to a perpetual fight-or-flight state. This constant hypervigilance exhausts the body. Impact on sleep patterns. Stress hormones interfere with sleep cycles, often causing insomnia, restless nights, or poor quality rest. Over time, sleep deprivation further exacerbates exhaustion. Prolonged exposure to these physiological and neurological changes doesn't just create burnout, it sustains it. That's why addressing burnout requires more than a temporary fix. Let's next explore the consequences of leaving burnout unaddressed. Ignoring burnout is akin to ignoring a fire alarm blaring in your workplace. Continuing to push yourself or encouraging your team to push through can have dire consequences. For individuals, neglecting burnout can lead to long-lasting health issues, including chronic fatigue syndrome, anxiety disorders, and even cardiovascular problems. Beyond physical health, it can diminish motivation, professional confidence, and personal relationships. For organizations, the ripple effects of burnout are damaging at the organizational level too. Decreased productivity, higher error rates, and disengagement affect overall output. Burnout also costs companies significantly in terms of absenteeism, turnover, and healthcare expenses. For instance, Gallup data estimates that burnout costs the global economy approximately $322 billion annually due to lost productivity. These individual and collective consequences underscore the importance of detecting burnout early and taking proactive steps. So, what can individuals do? How can leaders create burnout-resistant organizations? Let's move to solutions. Taking care of your own mental and physical well-being is the first step toward combating burnout. Here are some practical strategies. Recognize the symptoms in yourself. Acknowledge when you're feeling overwhelmed, unfocused, or overly pessimistic. Self-awareness is the foundation for recovery. 2. Establish boundaries. Learn to say no when your plate is already full, and set clear limits on your work hours. Preventing work from creeping into personal time is essential. 3. Incorporate relaxation techniques. Regularly practice mindfulness, meditation, or even simple breathing exercises. These techniques help lower cortisol levels and increase focus. 4. Nurture yourself physically and emotionally. Burnout feeds on neglect. Ensure you're eating healthily, staying hydrated, exercising, and nurturing your support network, whether that's friends, family, or your therapist. 5. Communicate and seek help. If you're feeling burnt out, don't suffer in silence. Share your concerns with a trusted colleague or manager. Support from others often brings clarity and fresh perspectives. But employees alone can't solve the larger issue of burnout. Leadership plays a critical role in creating environments that safeguard against burnout altogether. Leaders and decision-makers have the power and responsibility to foster workplace cultures that prioritize employee well-being. Here's how. Promote open communication. Encourage transparency and normalize conversations around stress and mental health. When employees feel safe to express their concerns, burnout can be addressed sooner. 2. Provide resources for mental health. Invest in mental health programs, such as employee assistance initiatives, on-site counselors, or regular workshops on stress management. 3. Prevent overburdening teams. Workloads and deadlines should be challenging but realistic. Leaders must avoid creating an environment that glorifies overwork or sets unattainable targets. 4. Redesign workflows. Ensure tasks and responsibilities are distributed fairly. Adopt a collaborative approach that prevents micromanagement and builds trust within teams. 5. Model healthy behavior. Leaders set the tone. When managers maintain boundaries, take breaks, and model self-care, employees are more likely to do the same. These actions not only curb burnout, but also build engaged, resilient teams that thrive over time. Burnout is more than just a buzzword. It's a legitimate issue that poses risks to individuals and businesses alike. By now, you've learned to recognize unmistakable warning signs, understand the science behind burnout, and take concrete steps to prevent or address it. Whether you're an individual struggling with burnout or a leader aiming to prevent it in your team, the solution starts with awareness. Burnout doesn't resolve on its own. It requires deliberate action, meaningful conversations, and a shared commitment to well-being. Together, Let's turn the tide on burnout. By creating healthier boundaries, promoting supportive workplaces, and prioritizing mental health, we can ensure thriving, sustainable careers and workplaces for everyone. Start taking action today. You can't afford to ignore it any longer.